morning everyone, and welcome to another video in my M140i. A few of my viewers, when I say a few I actually just mean one or two, have asked me to make a video on my car history. Now, I haven't really had a typical car history. I was a late starter, so I thought, yeah, alright, I'll do that. It would be interesting for me to look back on what I've had and what's actually brought me to the point that I'm now in with this car. This video is going to be my more usual style of video, where you have to put up with me talking a lot and you have to put up with my completer finisher and, as I've recently found out, my blue personality traits. Before I get started, I'd like to touch on modifications, which is what I've been covering in my last few videos. Points raised in the comments from some viewers where I've got the underbody brace. Is that a modification? Well, I don't know, is it? I don't think it is. It's just retrofitting a BMW part that was originally fitted to earlier versions of this car. I didn't fit it, the previous owner did. Is it a worthwhile mod? I couldn't tell you, I've never driven one without one, so this is what the M140 feels like. It's always had an underbody brace for me. And what about the LSD, the locking differential? Is that a modification? I don't really see that as a modification either. It was, after all, an option that you could specify on your car when you ordered it new. Okay, it wasn't fitted at the factory, it was fitted by the dealer, but it was a BMW option. You could buy this car new with an LSD fitted. So, seeing as I've got the M Performance plated Drexler diff, I don't see that as a mod. That's just retrofitting another part that the original owner didn't specify when he ordered this car. Also, it would seem as if my aversion to modifications has lost me a few subscribers. I keep a close track on all my stats on my YouTube views and so on. And yeah, I lost a few from these last few videos. And I've had comments like, well, if you're not going to mod it, what's the point? Why are you making videos? That makes me chuckle a bit. If you're into modifications and you want to see what you can do with one of these cars, there are plenty of people out there doing exactly that, and mostly doing the exact same thing to their cars. You know, the usual checklist, which is wheels, splitter, diffuser, spacers, springs, stick-on rear spoiler, carbon wrapping, everything. As I said, there's plenty of them out there, so take your pick, go and watch them. They'll keep you entertained. I'm not doing anything to this, I'm just going to appreciate what BMW have given us. And besides, I will still be driving this and still making videos in it long after they've run out of things to do to their cars and move on to another, in quotes, project. Therefore, I say to all those people, all of those departing subscribers, farewell, so long, and thanks for all the fish. My car history then. I mentioned I was a late starter. I started out on two wheels with a Honda Cub 90 or C90 step through. Had a lot of fun in that. From that I moved on to Honda's CB250N Super Dream, which I absolutely adored. The bike I had was absolutely mint, but it didn't end well. A car pulled across in front of me, I went into the side of him and I went over the roof. The bike ended up very bent. I didn't break anything, just some bruises, and that was kind of the end of my life on two wheels. My dad at the time had been running a car into the ground really. He was going to scrap it, but after my bike incident he said, did I want it? And I thought, yeah, okay, why not? So I then found myself the proud owner of a 1974 Triumph Toledo, 1.3 litres, about 50 horsepower, rear wheel drive, zero rear damping. You could actually bounce the back of the car off the ground when it was parked up, and running it on a budget, I had remold tyres, so I had no grip, no suspension control, and it went sideways absolutely everywhere. Then a change of job meant I found myself commuting from Horndean to Andover every single day, and that was a lengthy drive, mostly cross country on the A272 from Petersfield to Winchester. So I got something a bit more suitable than the Triumph, but that was only a 1.1 litre 1990 Ford Fiesta. And driving that along that road every single day taught me everything I needed to know about the importance of preserving momentum. I put 150,000 miles on that thing, owned it for a good few years, and then traded it for a Peugeot 306 1.9 litre turbo diesel. It was the pre-common rail one, so it was the one with the mechanical fuel pump, and that introduced me to the joys of lift-off oversteer. Wasn't the sharpest thing, but it had some mobility, so I started to learn about what you can do with the back of a car. I was really quite happy in that. I got married, we had our first daughter, and I then went through the usual thought process, which is, I've got a family now, I need a big car. Sarah was in a KA at the time, so we put her in a Ford Focus 1.6 Z-Tech, a 2001, and I found myself in a 2001 Ford Mondeo Z-Tech S, but the V6 one, 170 horsepower, 2.5 litre V6. Then Sarah bought me a driving experience day driving a Ferrari 355 around Thruxton. I went and did that, my first ever time on a circuit, and absolutely loved it. Got scored quite highly by the instructor on the day, and I thought, I'd like to do that in my own car. And then Sarah foolishly bought me a trackday voucher for Castle Combe. She still regrets that to this day, because that was when it all really began. At this time, we kind of realised that the Mondeo didn't need it. The Ford Focus was enough as a family car, and besides, swapping car seats over if ever we wanted to take the Mondeo was a right pain, and the Focus was kind of big enough for us. So I thought, okay, I've got a voucher for a track day, I've got a Ford Mondeo V6 which just isn't really suitable, handled all right, but it wasn't, you know, something I really want to take onto a track. So I thought, okay, I could get something smaller. And what could I buy? I picked up a copy of Evo magazine. This was early 2003, and they had a long-term Clio 172 Cup. They couldn't speak highly enough of it, and I read a report when they took it on track, and they said it just soaks up the abuse and is so much fun. Because it was the Cup, at the time this was quite a bit cheaper than the normal 172. So I thought, okay, yeah, why not? Let's have a go at one of those. So without ever having sat in one, I ordered one. And in December of 2003, I took delivery of my Clio 172 Cup. It was then that I really realised how much I enjoy driving. It was such a sharp thing. So well kind of connected to the road, you really dialed into it. Really mobile at the back, didn't have ABS, no traction control, no stability control, nothing. Really lightweight and really fast, you know, for the time anyway. Then, and again, courtesy of my dad, I found myself running as a daily a Vauxhall Amiga 2.5 litre V6 automatic. He was emigrating, so he again was going to sell it, but he said, well, do you want to run it for a bit, sell it, do whatever you want with it. Now, I really don't like automatics, but I thought there's an opportunity here. I could learn to left foot brake in it. So I took it off him, I drove it for a year, and in that entire time my right foot never touched the brake. Progress was a bit jerky in the beginning, but the sensitivity in my left foot on the brake pedal came soon enough. 12 months later, I moved that on and took on Sarah's Ford Focus as a daily, because we put her in a modus. I ran the Focus for about a year. It was all right, it was good, it was nice, but it was a bigger car, and I thought, I'm really missing the Clio, the lightness, the nimbleness, the agility. But I wasn't keen on huge running costs or anything like that. I still had the Clio, but it was becoming less and less usable as a daily. So I then took the Ford Focus and I traded that in against a Suzuki Ignis Sport. If you don't know the Ignis Sport, homologated rally special, 800 and something kilos, only 105 horsepower, but because it was homologated for rally purposes, it had disc brakes all round and NK wheels, or NK wheels I think it was, Recaro seats, and it was an absolute riot, kind of very similar to the Clio in its agility and its mobility. Eventually though, and having ruined the Clio Cup and turned it into something that was almost unusable, I kind of resented having a car sat there. doing nothing all day long and having the Ignis as a daily, and I thought, okay, can I change this and get something which does both jobs? Something that was a usable daily but would be really, really good on track. And that led me to a 2009 Clio 200. That was an interesting car. Renault tried to reincarnate the spirit of the original 172 and then 182, and they kind of did it, but for whatever reason I never really gelled with the car. I didn't bond with it. I did, I think, about 25,000 miles over a year and a half in it. Did enjoy it, took it on track several times. It just didn't really, press my buttons. This was at the time when engines started being downsized and turbochargers were being strapped to them. So the next Clio was announced, the 200 turbo, but it came with a flappy paddle gearbox, and again, automatics. I just couldn't see myself doing that, but I still, had Renault coursing through my veins. I convinced myself that it's what I wanted, it's what I needed, and I was pretty much on my way to go and put a deposit down on buying one. And then right at the last minute, I veered off, went to Ford and put a deposit down on a 2013 Fiesta ST instead. If Renault had put a manual gearbox on the 200 turbo, my last few years in cars could have been a very, very different path. And from that point on, my car history is kind of fairly well documented on my channel. Fiesta ST, after a few years, I bought the Focus RS. I thought, yeah, I'll have a Focus RS for a long time, won't lose much money on it, I'll vlog about it, keep it standard, and we all know how that ended. That wasn't the best ownership experience. Great car to drive, not for me, a great car to own. And then from the Ford Focus RS, I moved into this, BMW's M140i. So I'm not one to chop and change my cars on a regular basis. I like getting to know a car and really learning it and understanding it. For me, as I said in my previous video, it's not about modifying, it's not about owning a car, it's all about driving a car. And in this thing, after 578 days now and just about 21,000 miles, I think I've finally found what I'm looking for. And I've found it just in time by all accounts, considering the way the car market is going with electric vehicles and hybrids and so on. This car will be considered a dinosaur long before I'm finished with it. I hope you found that interesting or useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks again for watching.